Hello and welcome to the Zementis video chat on the topic of real-world use cases for predictive analytics. Today, it is my pleasure to welcome Dr. Ankur Terdesai here. He's here to share his perspectives about predictive analytics, data mining, and machine learning, and today with a particular focus on exciting developments in the healthcare industry. But before we begin, please allow me to properly introduce Dr. Terdesai. He comes to us from the University of Washington, Tacoma, where he is a professor of computer science and systems at the Institute of Technology. He also heads the Center for Data Science at the University of Washington, and he serves as the information officer for ACM SIG-KDD, that is the ACM Special Interest Group in Knowledge Discovery and Data Mining. And he's currently an associate editor for ACM SIG-KDD Explorations, as well as IEEE Transactions on Big Data. And he serves on program committees of major international conferences in data mining, machine learning, and related areas. Dr. Terdesai's research focuses on ways that data science can be applied to crucial societal issues to achieve a positive impact that drives social good. So a very noble cause. Some of his recent applied research actually contributes to risk prediction for readmission due to chronic conditions such as heart failure, while other applications of his work have enabled trust-enhanced recommendations, for example. So, Ankur, welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here, Michael.
Thank you. So, Ankur, given your current focus on the healthcare industry, I thought it would be very interesting if you could share with us a few statistics that I found very interesting, if not rather alarming. And I'd ask you to explain to us what you see the role of data science in this, in identifying these situations and understanding root causes, potentially improving patient quality of life and quality of care.
Sure, Michael. Last year, for example, nearly 1 in 5, so 1 in 5 Medicare patients who had been hospitalized were readmitted within a month. Roughly 2 million patients returned within a year. Many of them returned repeatedly, costing Medicare around $26 billion. Official estimates actually say that 17 billion of that 26 billion is spent on something that we term as potentially avoidable readmissions. And that's huge because nearly 1/20th of the spend that we are experiencing as taxpayers is being spent on something that the medical community actually considers avoidable.
Wow. Yeah, it's really shocking to look at those numbers. And so what is your perspective on these alarming numbers, and how can predictive analytics really help reduce the incidence of such events?
So it's an opportunity for data science. Data science today has become a catalyst for transforming the practice of healthcare. Consider, for example, Jim. Jim is a 70-year-old heart failure patient with hypertension and complications due to diabetes. Jim unfortunately was hospitalized 3 times last year, twice within just last 2 months, simply because there was no one to remind him to take his medications every day. Usually his daughter would do so, but due to work deadlines at work and other reasons, she was not able to remind him, and he got hospitalized several times. Or take another example of John, who's 55 and has an active lifestyle, but simple respiratory exercises would have kept him going for many years. Instead, he underwent an expensive surgical procedure that made him even less active. Simply avoidable procedural interventions would have helped him lead an active lifestyle. Over the course of last 3 years or so, my group at the University of Washington has partnered with leading cardiologists in our region to develop machine learning models, not just for accurately predicting which patients are high, medium, or low risk for 30-day readmission, but to actually identify the likelihood of different care pathways that these patients should be recommended so that their risk scores are lowered and we can address multiple chronic conditions for these patients.
Oh, very fascinating. So how does your work at the Center for Data Science advance not just the academic discipline of data science, but really achieve a greater social good? And what are some of the examples that you think are really, that really illustrate your mission in a powerful way?
So, Mike, the UW Center for Data Science was founded by our late Chancellor, Deborah Friedman, with a vision to enable data-driven decisions, particularly for domains that are very rich in data but very poor in tools. For example, healthcare or education or environment. Today, the entire University of Washington administration is proudly behind the center because we have broken traditional barriers of what academic institutions can do innovatively with published results. At the same time, build demonstrable prototypes that require a lot of engineering excellence. And we have done this by partnering with companies such as yours, for example, Zementis and Microsoft, to achieve social good. Apart from health analytics, we are working on genomic big data solutions for personalized cancer care. We are collaborating with various providers for predicting pregnancy costs for uninsured couples. We are one of the leaders in cybersecurity and developing cryptographic solutions for secure machine learning for Internet of Things. We are analyzing teacher effectiveness pathways for special needs students with autism and blindness. We have a project going on that measures environmental impact and predicts which hazards will lead to most amount of destruction or complications in our environment within the Puget Sound by integrating all this data, and it's hosted on Azure. So we recently won a Best Demo Paper Award for a prototype app that we developed on the cloud, which is called iTornado, that predicts, that uses complex predictive query processing for identifying safe shelters for drivers stuck in a tornado.
Well, very good. I mean, that's why we feel honored that you actually chose us as one of your partners, really helping you, with the deployment of predictive analytics in the cloud, for example. When I think about specific use cases for predictive analytics, I often focus on 4 areas, which we most often see at Zementis as client use cases. Number 1 is customer analytics, customer behavior, looking at customer-centric data. Second is operational analytics, machine-to-machine data, machine-to-machine communications. Today, I think the hottest topic on that front is the Internet of Things and the ecosystems around that. Furthermore, out of the financial industry, risk management analytics, fraud detection, fraud prevention, and risk scoring in general. And of course, fourth, and not to be underestimated at all, is security analytics. So identifying vulnerabilities, cyber threats, and similar issues that we face in a online world day to day, if we see it or not. So within these categories, what have you seen as some particularly compelling applications of predictive analytics? Who do you think is really kind of leading the market in applying predictive analytics in these areas?
So, Mike, in my opinion, the data mining community has made tremendous contributions in all the above areas. In a purely academic opinion, and hopefully without offending anyone who might be a leader, but I'm not aware of, I consider Netflix to be a powerhouse in intent analytics. They were one of the first ones to build large-scale recommendation systems and really contributed a lot to the academic community as well in innovation. Similarly, both Splunk and Bosch. Bosch is actually one of our sponsor partners at the Center for Data Science in doing some very exciting things on the Internet of Things. For security, I have had the opportunity recently to collaborate on some very exciting work coming from a new company in this space called Niara. Now, Niara is elegantly using the big data stack along with scalable predictive modeling techniques to identify something that is a very hard problem in the security space. It's called the insider threat analytics. And then the post-event forensics, for example. So for these type of solutions, you need a highly scalable, very fast, retroactive vulnerability assessment solution that can consume large amounts of log data. Plus, you need to be able to integrate intelligence across a variety of data sources for cybersecurity. So Niara has been at the forefront of trying to design some of these machine learning solutions to do this analysis. And then if opportunities in data science for healthcare, do not keep machine learning scientists awake at night, I think just the issues and the amount of opportunities in the cybersecurity space for machine learning, are very motivating and should keep grad students up at night. So that's the way I think about it, at least.
Grad students should always be up at night, right?
Okay.
But if
you say it, I didn't say that. Right?
If I may actually go back to when I started my question, I said there's 4 categories, but I just thought, through your answer, I thought, well, they're blending together. You have security analytics and Internet of Things. Everything is online now, so security becomes even more important for the Internet of Things. And then likewise, link into that customer analytics, with your mobile phone, mobile device. It's a sensor, but it's linked to you and your personal information. So now you have 3 of those categories already blending together as one opportunity for data science. But let's turn kind of to the science of data science for a moment. Do you find that there are certain predictive modeling techniques that really are more adept than others for addressing the unique analytical requirements in the healthcare industry?
So in the healthcare space so far, the use of classification or regression techniques has found more prominence. Unsupervised learning techniques, clustering, is yet to bear forth, mostly because in healthcare, the target variables are usually defined by the clinicians or the physicians, right? And data scientists are often invited to use classification or regression models to solve that specific problem, so that clinicians can do a factor analysis of those solutions. We have been using naive Bayes, SVM, random forest to solve a variety of these risk of readmission problems. On the other hand, we have also been building some very large scalable cost prediction models for looking at huge volumes of claims data and analyzing those claims in as real time as possible, even though it's not really real time, it's more batch, but as fast as possible in a scalable manner. And we have designed some very cool analytical models for predicting next year cost of beneficiaries using soft computing techniques such as fuzzy rough sets or designing classifiers, particularly when there are a lot of inconsistencies in the data.
In terms of technology architecture, turning a little bit away from the algorithm to the underlying fundamental infrastructure, what benefits do you see from an enterprise-grade cloud environment such as Microsoft Azure, and how has been a cloud environment being helpful to you in your work?
So we got our first Azure for Research grant from Microsoft Research Outreach team more than a year ago. We recently also got a similar Azure Machine Learning Award to conduct experiments for readmissions using Azure ML tools. I feel that the life of a graduate student and faculty has been completely transformed by the advent of being able to do experimentation on the cloud. Using SQL Azure and appropriately sized compute nodes, me and my grad students can slice and dice data sets much faster. We can share those data sets, issue large join queries across multiple diagnosis codes and socio-demographic tables for our patients. And then we can augment the results with US census data or other tertiary data sources if needed, and set up large machine learning workflows for building and testing hundreds of models in parallel. This was impossible to do before the cloud. We then can cross-validate our models. We can select the best ones, export them to standards such as predictive markup modeling language, PMML, or sometimes hard-code the PMML, and then set up scalable web services through APIs such as ADAPA, for scoring hundreds of patients or hundreds of patient events in a very nice, robust manner. It also helps us test for failures and really try to understand where scale and missing values or attributes are not succeeding. So that's a plus of the cloud. Moreover, since cloud services such as Azure are HIPAA compliant, the healthcare providers are increasingly reassured that the machine learning models that we are building and the scoring that is happening is on a trustworthy HIPAA-compliant cloud. So that helps us accelerate our research using any anonymized data without any PHI and so on the cloud.
Interesting. So I guess it's fair to say the cloud lowers the barrier for entry, not just for the businesses to experiment, but also for research, for students. Okay. You don't have to wait for the next supercomputer cycle. You can actually go launch your own machine, run it. So it's really a fascinating topic, and we could clearly go on for hours about this and still have much more to talk about. But since our time is limited today, perhaps you could have, send us off with one last parting thought, kind of the next horizon. What do you see in healthcare analytics that you think is really exciting and will be the next big thing?
So it's not what I see. I think the question should be, what do I not see as exciting or transformative in data science and healthcare? Everything from clinical integration of wearables to finding fraudulent transactions in claims data are in a need of attention from data scientists. I would like to develop a personalized fetal growth curve for every baby in this world, particularly where malnourishment and HIV are causing havoc even before the baby is born. I would like to predict actionable interventions for neonatal care, identify learning disabilities in children through use of voice recognition systems such as Cortana or Siri or Echo, prevent abuse, domestic violence, promote wellness through wearables and safety. I would like to help depression, deal with depression through predictive gaming, for example, or reduce wait times for international adoptions by applying some very advanced recommendation techniques to match parents with potential children who are in need of good homes. Certainly, I have done some work in the past on predicting calories from volume of food to help nutritionists deal with cancer and chemotherapy patients. In general, I think data science can transform healthcare by allowing healthcare professionals to partner with data scientists on improving protocols wherever protocols are amenable to a data-driven decisioning. So, physicians will one day, hopefully, also have to earn a degree in data science, or more data scientists will turn to become physicians and sort of transform healthcare one case study at a time.
It's fascinating to see that that's where all the exciting things happen. Thank you again for making this time for our conversation today. It has been a very valuable conversation for me, and I hope also to all of our viewers, whether they are data scientists, IT professionals, or business decision makers, or if they work in the healthcare industry, of course, physicians, clinical or otherwise. I think to you, our viewers, let me leave you with one parting thought from someone who made a few of his own contributions to science during his career. Albert Einstein once said, "Look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better." So I hope he is going to be okay with us as a data scientists that we say and modify his quote slightly to say, "Look deep into data, and then you will understand everything better." So thank you again for joining us today. Thank you for joining us. And to learn more about predictive analytics and various practical use cases, please visit our website at zementis.com.